Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Agritech Founders Diary Podcast, a podcast where we spotlight the architect founders shaping the future of agriculture. I'm your host, Kenneth Obayuana, and today we are having an amazing guest joining us all the way from Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya. And Nairobi is one of the most famous coffee origin. So today we'll be meeting with the founder of Project Mocha. Is not that person that Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul, welcome to today's show.
Hey, hello Kenneth. Glad to be
it's
here.
it's good to finally be able to have this honest conversation with you. But without further ado, without wasting time at all, let's get into it. Let's start from the beginning. What inspired you to venture into agritech and particularly coffee farm, given the challenges the sector faces? So, what inspired you to go into agritech and particularly coffee farm?
Okay, Kenneth. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
So, my story is quite interesting because I was born and raised in a coffee farm. So I'm a third
Mm.
generation coffee farmer, and so let's say coffee farming is in my DNA. Let me put it that way. And I've been this like the present farm we're working on is my grandfather's farm, passed on to my dad, my mom, and now here getting this baton passed on to me. And
Mm.
so that's how I got into coffee farming essentially. However, my journey to building Project Mocha was again from the kind of pains that we've had as at the farm. So a bit of story on the farm is that we I've once, as it was handed down the years, my best moments were at the farm when I was younger, and we had a lot of coffee. We had our own processing center there, and we used to. I remember back then helping my dad manage the kind of the people who we had there at the farm. We at some point we had up to 50 people who are helping us with the farm.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, I saw a different situation where my mom really struggled with this farm, same farm, mind you, and at some point she even had to get into debt from a couple of banking institutions just to keep the farm running, and even got to a point that she ultimately gave up on it. And for a period of 5 years, we had abandoned the farm. So, and that's where my interest came in, is that I felt the pain of my mom who had struggled
Yeah.
to come floating, and she couldn't get herself financially well from this farm. From so the farm had turned from an asset which was productive, which helped my grandfather build he was the first man to build a stone house in the village because of this farm. He got to educate 13 kids, some who actually managed to go to university and travel. Then here's my mom who, just 2 generations later, has even had to get into debt to keep the same farm running. And
Yeah.
so when I saw now, I just had to step in. And my background is in finance. I'm an accountant by profession, and I got to understand where the problem was, because from one of my very first clients we had to deal with was a large coffee farm, and they had coffee, tea, cows, goats, and what they wanted from us was audited books of account so that they can access capital from a local bank. And that's what we did. We went to the farm, took the land as an asset, of course, but also got to count the trees, count the goats, count the cows, because these two are assets and these are the
So,
productive assets for the farm.
from your explanation now, it means at the moment you own a coffee farm.
Oh, yes.
Ah, amazing, amazing. But let's stick to Project Mocha a bit. For
Okay.
the people who are listening to this podcast for the first time, tell us a bit about Project Mocha and what you do at Project Mocha.
Okay. So, Gachora, founder, CEO of Project Mocha.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do at Project Mocha is solve my mom's problem, which was she needed capital to access to improve productivity of our farm. This wasn't accessible from the banks. And so we've stepped in to provide
Mm-hmm.
how we've digitized her assets. So my mom, as a typical farmer, her assets are the land, the trees, and the coffee that she produces. And so we've digitized this,
Yeah.
created and assigned these tokens to her in time to represent her ownership. And this allows her to now trade on the blockchain, which ideally is the open economy. So she's able to represent her assets on chain, and she's able to access capital on chain as well. So essentially, that's what we
Okay.
do.
So in a, in a,
Yeah.
in a, in a, in a layman terms, so I will break it down. You've been able to digitalize the work your mom do digitally, whereby she sell coffee using the digital currencies like cryptocurrencies to sell the coffee, right?
Yes.
And this enable your mom to be able to sell across the globe.
Yes. She's able
Mm-hmm.
to sell and ask Kenneth, for example, to invest in her farm. And Kenneth is
Okay.
able to invest in this farm and get returns based on the production that we have at the farm.
Oh, okay. Amazing. Well, let me ask you, um, is it going to be your mom alone that can use Project Mocha, or there will be other um, farmers, other coffee farmers that could trade using, or that could get investments using using what's it called? Using digital tools like your mom.
Okay. We envision this is a solution for all coffee farmers. Anyone who is,
Mm-hmm.
and is mostly targeting the smallholder farmers who do not have access to financial services such as auditing and and then thus are not able to access financial services such as
Mm-hmm.
banking and
Yes.
getting capital. Yeah. So what we're looking at is to use this to finance my mom's farm and then scale to our neighboring farmers. We already have a wait list that has over 1,000 farmers. We are part
Yeah.
of a cooperative, and
Okay.
the farmers around us are quite interested in what we're doing as well. So this is supposed to be a solution to benefit our community.
Hmm. Amazing. Nice. 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 But let me ask. Let's talk about the tokenization model. How did you decide on the mechanism of tree ownership and revenue sharing and all that? Yeah, between these farmers and Project Mocha.
So this comes from my background as an accountant,
Mm-hmm.
and I've what coffee trees are in essence assets, and we have accounting standards that allow us to account for, document, and present coffee trees as assets. What hasn't been happening is that this has not this the level of financial service has not been accessible to the smallholder farmers.
Yes.
So that's what essentially we are doing. We are making this financial service accessible to the small farmers, and
Yes.
taking it a step further is opening them up and allowing them to show their assets on on an open global ledger. So accounting a tree is an asset by IAS 16, that's International Accounting Standard number 16. Coffee beans are
Yes.
also assets, IAS
Yes.
41. So this is what we are applying. We are basically applying accounting, generally accepted accounting standards, and adding a layer of technology and making this accessible to the smallholder farmers.
Mm. Now my question would be: now that um, now that you've been able to digitalize this model for farmers,
Mhm.
has been the adaptation for farmers? Are they adapting into this cryptocurrency? Are they, has it been for between you and the farmers? Is there what's the levels of acceptance or adaptations for farmers so far? Has it been?
So it's been a rough journey getting farmers to understand what we're doing, and possibly the mistake was on
I
our
know.
end because
Hmm.
we went in with this jargon and we were using buzzwords: tokenization, blockchain,
Yes.
cryptocurrency. And so what we've done is abstracted all this and
Hmm.
communicated the actual value. And what we are doing for the farmer is, one, we are providing capital for them to rehabilitate their trees.
Yes.
Number two, we're providing a market for the coffee that they produce. And so
Yes.
the farmer doesn't need to know that this is happening on blockchain. What the farmer needs to
Yes.
see that they now have money to rehabilitate. There is productivity improving at the farm, and when they sell their
Mhm.
coffee, they get a return. How it works, ideally, they're not too concerned about that, and that has helped now onboard more farmers because they're interested in what we are offering, as opposed to selling the technology.
Mm. How long have you started Project Mocha? Have you been running more Project Mocha now? How long since from the idea to the point it is now?
Ah, wow. That last point. Okay, so from the idea, I got the
Mm.
idea back in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
and this was when I saw a video on the blockchain, and it was a YouTube video, and the narrator got to show how in a future world people would be able to tokenize their assets and trade them.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's something like how we used to. We as Africans, we are used to barter trade. We we
Yeah.
we, we traded with each other based on what we were producing. So that concept really quickly struck me, and from then it was then a journey of how can then I tokenize my trees.
Uh,
And we got to implement this now last year when we registered Project Mocha formally as a business, as a company here in Kenya, and got on to launch it in September last year at Eat Safari, one of Kenya's largest Ethereum conferences.
mm.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Well, has there been a time have you ever felt like quitting on the idea of giving up on it?
Kenneth, that's a simple one. Yes.
So
The,
what sustained you not to quit all this while? Why did you not give up on the idea? Why did you believe the idea that it's worth your time? It's what you investing or spending your time to build. Why did you give up on the idea?
it, to be sincere, it was more of a necessity.
Mm.
I was it was I took it as my responsibility to ensure that I'm able to plug in and help my mom manage the farm. I
Mm-hmm.
understood that this required coffee farming is capital intensive and labor
Yes.
intensive. So I
Yes.
knew we needed resources. So the
Mm-hmm.
question was I going to do things as my mom and other farmers were doing, which was try and raise bank loans, or find a different way to do the same process to get capital to invest in the farm? So I opted to take a different step, take a different direction, and that's what's led me here. So it's that conviction that this solution was a necessity, and
Yes.
the fact that there was nowhere else to turn to if I still wanted to take my responsibility and manage this farm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great, great. Now, you've been able to build something really incredible or beautiful, right? So, one of the beautiful aspects of your model that I love is the community you've been able to build it, that you are trying to create between farmers and the tree buyers, right? But how have you seen this relationship evolving since your launch?
Well, the two communities are people who love each other and work with each other, but have never
Mm-hmm.
connected. So the coffee
Yes,
farmer produces this coffee for the consumer who loves this coffee, and the two don't get to interact. So I've come to appreciate that most coffee consumers do not even know what a coffee tree looks like.
yeah, yes.
And most
It's true,
coffee farmers,
actually. Let me break it there. Sorry, what you
yeah,
just said is very very true. So when I was in Nairobi, I didn't know you have
yeah,
a farm, and I didn't know you have a coffee farm. I was literally looking for coffee farm. I saw the love and the way people were consuming coffee when I was in Nairobi. So I
yeah.
was literally looking for a farm in Nairobi, like a
Mhm.
coffee farm, because I know
Yeah.
Nairobi or Kenyans, you guys are known for coffee, and you guys love coffee. I was literally looking for a coffee farm. I wanted to do like a documentary of a coffee farm to
Mhm.
see how coffee is being done. It's painful. I could not lay a hold on any coffee farm. I didn't know you had a coffee farm at the time, but you see, a lot of people really consume coffee. They love coffee, but
Yes.
they've never seen how coffee looks like. They've never seen how coffee is being produced. I just wanted
Yes.
to
Yes.
quickly keep that in. Yes.
Yeah. So exactly, and that's now on the other side. Coffee producers, the farmers, don't know that the coffee they produce is worth so much that it creates so much love and excitement in the consumer.
Mm.
So you find that locally, sadly, as a country, we consume less than
Yes.
5% of coffee.
Yes.
So the love that you saw when we had our workshop was people who, for some of them, it was the first time they got to take a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I've realized, that consumers, mostly we have been producing for other countries, mostly Europe. Some of our coffee has gone to the UAE, then some of it has gone to the US, North America. And these
Yeah.
have been
Yes.
primary consumers of our coffee here as Kenyans. And we've gotten a chance to host some of these people who have become friends of Project Mocha, and they've
Yeah.
loved the experiences at the farm, getting to see the coffee for the first time, harvesting. Like over the weekend, I had a guest over, and he got to harvest because right now it's harvesting season. And so the coffee is ripe. You can see red beans, some are green, and he got to harvest. And it was such a great experience for him, just coming to connect with that product he loves. And my mom was really happy to connect with someone who appreciated the work that she does, and there was so much passion between the consumer and the producer. So I'm looking forward to getting more consumers into the farms to see how this coffee is produced, and also taking the farmers to the consumers so that they can get to experience the whole value chain of coffee.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So I know I've asked you, but this question in the past, like for those hearing about Project Mocha for the first time, could you break down exactly? Okay, I think let me take it again. For those hearing about Project Mocha for the first time on this podcast, could you break it down exactly how it works and what problem you are trying to solve with Project Mocha?
Let me start with the problem you are trying to solve.
Yes.
The problem we are trying to solve is that our coffee production has gone down. Right now, the current average production per farm is between half a kilo and 2 kgs.
Mm-hmm.
A coffee tree, on the other hand, can produce as many as 20 kgs, even going to 25, 30 kilos for the same tree. So that's the farm situation. Farmers are underproducing. While you go to the market, on the market side, coffee consumption is on the increase globally. More and more people love coffee and are getting to consume it. So for us to produce, to improve our productivity as farmers, we need capital. And this is what we
Yeah.
are coming to do. We're coming to unlock this capital for farmers so that they can improve their productivity. And by increasing this production, then we increase the amount of coffee we have, and give more and allow more consumers to take up the coffee that we have.
Mm.
So simply put, that's what we're trying to address. Um, the flow of capital from whether it's coffee consumers or from the banks or for
Yeah.
investment firms to this
Yes.
coffee farm, because this is where we see the highest, the greatest ability to have multiples of X. You can imagine increasing the productivity of a farm from 1 kilo to just 10. We don't even have to go to the 20. Moving from 1 to 10, that's a 10x increase. And that
Yes.
completely changes the life of this farmer. And on the other end, we get to produce more coffee. So how to do that is we've decided to embrace Web3, embrace the blockchain, because it allows us to represent the true value of our assets, and this allows us to tap into an open economy and get to access finance. So all that's what we're looking for. It's access to capital. So we get to access finance and use it to produce coffee.
Amazing, amazing. I like that about blockchain and IoT, right? But
Ah,
you, your use of blockchain and IoT is fascinating, right? Can you
mhm.
explain in simple terms how this technology integrates into the farming process and how they benefit smallholder farmers?
Okay. So the first level of IoT sensors that we have used has been to collect data on the farm. And
Yes,
this is above ground and below ground metrics. So we
yes,
have deployed a digital weather station that feeds data into the blockchain, and we are using this to get to understand the weather around the coffee farm. Uh,
yes.
Tomorrow we'll be deploying another sensor, and this time we are going to capture not just above ground but below ground metrics to know what's happening beneath the soil. And with all this data, then we'll be able to know what exactly does the farm need, because we are getting into the farm. We are looking at precision farming as opposed to applying fertilizer per tree, as opposed to applying spraying and just because arbitrary spraying. We are looking at uh, what's currently in the soil. Are there some deficiencies? Then applying the right nutrients, the right manure, the right nutrients that these trees want. If it's water, for example, we are well aware that rain coffee coffee trees flower when it rains, but we'd like
Yeah.
to know how much rainfall is necessary for the coffee to start flowering, so that we are able to know, can we irrigate, and how much water do we need to irrigate, so that we can have increase our production as opposed to relying on irregular rain patterns.
Yes.
So the first thing we are doing with the sensors is collecting data so that we have
Mm-hmm.
visibility on what's happening, because currently we are flying blind. We don't have, as farmers, we don't rely on data. So that's the first step, is collect data, visualize it, and get into a position where we can make data-based decisions.
Amazing, amazing. Like you doing an amazing work. But let me ask you one more question.
Yeah.
Um, entrepreneurship in agriculture is not easy, right? You've been around, or you've been building this for some time now. What are some of the hardest lessons you've learned as a founder so far?
The toughest, let me say, I wouldn't say it's a hard lesson, but I'd say it's the best lesson I've learned, is that
Okay.
this journey is a marathon, and we are
Yes.
running a series of sprints inside a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
So to put that into context was, when we launched in September at It's Safari, our intention was to get people to, at that time we were going by adopt our trees, and
Yes.
we expected that would raise some money to take back to the farm. But
Mm-hmm.
what we achieved from It's Safari was we got to introduce Project Mocha, the company, and build and show the world this coffee brand. But at the same
Yeah.
time, we weren't able to raise any money. And at that moment, I was quite discouraged, because our intention was to find capital for the farm. But what we ended
Yeah.
up was getting a brand for the company, which is a huge asset nonetheless, But it was not the immediate thing we needed at the point, which was money. So getting to realize that, it took the encouragement of a good friend of mine. He's called Michael from IR Labs. I'll shout him out here, because he's the first person who identified that our model of adopt a tree was, he actually called it a bullshit model, and said, let's not raise any money that way, because we're going to mess it up for us, our
Yeah.
brand in the future. But it allowed us to get into an incubation where we were able to learn about business, around how to create a model that works, that can attract consumers, give us perspective on how we need to build the tech, which we now built. We built our MVP. We are just about to launch our tokens, and so we ended up building a business as opposed to building that immediate need, which was get money from the farm. So I'd say that's the lesson here. It's building is a marathon, and you're going to run a couple series of sprints, and if you don't get the immediate result from sprint A, doesn't mean you're not going to get it from sprint 10,
Yeah.
because you're in this marathon. Yeah.
I completely agree. Okay, how do you personally stay grounded and motivated during tough times as a founder? How do you stay motivated and grounded during tough moments?
I'll it's my support system,
Mm-hmm.
my mom,
Oh,
my
you seems
family.
like you have a solid support system, right?
Yeah, my mom, she's my hero,
Shout
and
out, shout
my
out to
two
your mom.
sisters. Yeah. And these are the guys who've kept me going. The show She's shown me so much love. She showed me
Yeah,
how to believe and have faith, that faith in something that's not yet seen. And so this journey building Project Mocha has been a journey of faith, because we had to believe that we are going to create something that the world would appreciate even before
mm,
we got there. And yeah, so it's my strong support system.
great. Where do you see Project Mocha in the next 5 to 10 years? So if we are going to interview you again or meet again in the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see Project Mocha?
Will be global issuers of virtual assets, digitized,
Mm-hmm.
tokenized real assets, because what we are looking for is to build an engine that allows anyone in the world to tokenize their assets and trade in this
Yes.
open economy. And our interest is not to get into every industry, but we'd like to open up our solution to other people to use it. So if you're farming olive trees, or you're a cocoa farmer in West Africa, would
Mm.
like, or even locally, a coffee farmer in Ethiopia or Uganda, would would like a situation where we are working with local communities, allowing to sharing what we've built, our technology with them, and helping them to continue doing the production that they are, whether they are doing coffee, avocado, olive trees, or cocoa.
Amazing. Amazing. That's such a beautiful vision. But um, as we begin to wrap up, if you could give your younger self an advice at the starting of this journey, what will it be?
Keep pushing, keep running. Don't keep pushing, keep running. Don't stop. Just keep going. That's it. I'd say keep going.
Hmm, do it. Guys, keep pushing. So if you're a founder listening to us today, Mr. Paul is saying keep pushing, don't no quitting, no
Yeah,
giving
don't
up,
quit.
keep
This
pushing
world wasn't
one
built by
step at
quitters.
a time. One step at a time. So if you're an agritech founder, just keep pushing. The fight might be tough, might not be easy, but you keep pushing. But let me ask, are there plans to expand beyond coffee or into other regions?
Yes, we're looking at opening up our solution and making our tokenization engine open source, because we believe
Mm-hmm.
whatever we've had the privilege to create should be used by the whole world. And so would like
Mm.
to open our technology to a coffee farmer in Ethiopia, to a coffee farmer in Uganda, and even go beyond coffee to go to a cocoa farmer in Ghana, or a producer in Nigeria, so that they can use our solution to digitize their assets and access the open economy. Because I think that's what we are looking at. It's how do we get people into the open economy that we are building?
Amazing, amazing. Let me ask, what role do you see agritech play in transforming Africa agriculture more broadly? What role do you see agritech playing in that space?
Outside mining, I believe agriculture is the largest, it's going to be the largest contributor to improving the livelihoods of Africans, because I don't think there's a single country that's not into one form or another of agriculture.
Yeah,
And at the end
yeah,
of the
I
day,
agree. I agree.
we are consumers. As human beings, we eat. So,
Yeah.
so, I'd like to see a situation where, first of all, Africa is able to feed itself, because we have all the
Mm-hmm.
land, all the resources. We
True.
have the labor. Africa has the youngest demography in the world right now, if you were to look at different continents. And so what's lacking is that spark, which is the capital to come in and create this, just to turn on that flywheel. So I'm betting huge on agriculture, I'm betting huge on tech, and I'm betting huge on agritech becoming a catalyst for the economic revolution that will improve our lives as Africans.
Amazing. Amazing. So, how can listeners support or get involved with Project Mocha today?
Please join our community. First of all, we have our socials. We are on X, Twitter formerly. We're on Instagram. We have a community on Telegram, and WhatsApp. Join our communities where we keep in touch and share about what we are doing. Above all,
How
we
do
have our
they how
website.
can how can they join your community?
So our Twitter, Project Mocha 254. That's our handle, Project Mocha 254 on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. You can get to our website, www.projectmocha.com, and there you'll find our wait list. We are just about to release our first batch of tokens, and for our farm, this will be the first batch of tokenized real world assets from our farm, and would like to share this with our community. So join our wait list, and as soon as we are ready, it's the people on our wait list who will be the first to know.
Good.
Which list is on our website, www.projectmocha.com.
Amazing. 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 Guys, so guys, you read from Mr. Paul on how you can keep in touch with them, on how you can be involved or be part of their community. So do well to get involved or get in touch with them, as they're doing really amazing work. I've seen the coffee, amazing coffee, and yeah, I think it's worth being part of. All right. So, Mr. Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And finally, your message you like, and finally, any message you would like to leave with our listeners today.
I thank God for being in Africa at such a time as this. We have all
Yeah.
the opportunity, and we have so many problems to solve. So I see the problems as opportunities. Let's solve our own
Mhm.
problems, and let's make this home better for us and for the next generations.
Amazing. Amazing. Kudos. Thank you very much. So guys, if you're watching this program, do well to hit the notification button so you can get notified whenever we drop any videos or whenever we go live. Don't forget to share this video with your friends, with any architect founders you know, with architect investors. Do well to share this podcast, this podcast with your friends and family members. And then don't also forget to hit the subscribe button. Subscribe so that whenever we go live like this, or whenever we drop any amazing videos, which we'll keep dropping every week, you'll be notified and you'll be aware that we'll drop a video. Till then, it's going to be bye from our end. So thank you, Mr. Paul, and thank you to our audience for joining another episode of Agritech Founders Podcast, where we celebrate the bold innovators in reimagining agriculture. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned in next week for another founders story. Till then, we'll see you. Bye for now.